Anyone to confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, great. We're starting in the next 2 minutes. So if you have any colleagues trying to join in, you can tell them to join in. So you're all very welcome. And we're starting right now because of time, and the rest of the people joining in can find us along the way. My name is Pimer Peace Monica, and I lead the team at Nile Girls Forum. I'm very happy to be your host today for this webinar by the Greater Nebbi and West Nile Under 40 CEO Forum. So this is just one of our subsequent webinars that we have been having for a couple of weeks now. And just to take you through our agenda today, we're having a webinar discussion, and we are hosting a very prominent speaker that will be introduced later on. So we shall have an introduction where we shall have opening remarks from the chair of the Greater Nebbi and West Nile Under 40 CEO Forum. We shall also have a brief overview of the webinar objectives and agenda, which going through right now. So we shall have a one-on-one with our guest tonight, and he will share very many perspectives around the overview of trade and investment opportunities in West Nile and Greater Nebbi. Also, you should look out for investment funding options and support mechanisms, but also feel free to text your questions in the chat, and they would be responded to as we continue with the discussion. So our topic today is trade and investment landscape for investing in West Nile and Greater Nebbi, leveraging on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area for regional trade and investment growth. And our theme is unlocking growth potential and empowering tomorrow's innovators, leveraging African Continental Free Trade, special economic zones, and industrial parks for Uganda's young entrepreneurs. So right about now, I would like to invite Ms. Grace to give us opening remarks before we kickstart our session today. Thank you. Over to you, Grace.
Thank you, Peace Pimer. Good evening, members. By the names, I'm called Coach Grace, the chairperson leading this group of under 40 CEO who are trying to see how we can unlock the potentials that we have in our region and be able to impact on so many of us in so many ways. My work is simple. I'm going to invite our speaker of today, but before I do that, I request that we all pay attention to him, because it's a one-time opportunity that we get to listen to such speakers who are very influential, who have the knowledge we need to succeed in all that we are trying to do. So let's give him all the audience and be able to tap into some of the ideas that he will bring, and also be responsible in asking questions that can help us to unlock our effort. So at this moment, you control. Yeah.
Hello, please, if you're not communicating, kindly mute.
Mute. May they unmute? Yes, thank you. The speaker of today is going to tell us a lot. This is a very interesting topic. I pray and believe. At this moment, I would like to take this opportunity to invite our speaker, Engineer Joel Aita Joppa, to take the platform and be able to share whatever he has prepared for us. We are eagerly waiting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. I hope I can be heard clearly.
Yes, we are hearing you, sir.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to thank the West Nile business leaders under 40 CEOs, Greater Nebbi under 40 CEOs team for this invitation to come and talk to the young people. Some of us have crossed the 40 mark. I crossed, I think, a little bit over 4 years ago. It feels good above 40. So welcome all of you to join it also soon. But it also gives you guys a lot of opportunities to explore so many things at the age below 40 years old, because you have a lot of time to explore different opportunities, to explore different ideas, and really there's time. But when you now cross the 40 line, you now start consolidating. You now start looking at having less explorations, but more of consolidation. But all in all, it's beautiful that young people under the age of 40 are looking at addressing issues of West Nile, issues of Greater Nebbi, and they're looking at opportunities to do business and to do trade in West Nile. For me, I really feel very proud about that. For a long time, we didn't have this, especially in West Nile. You know, for very many years, we have mostly been doing complaining this, complaining that. But when young people come together and say, why don't we do this? Then that is really a very big opportunity. And I really like the theme, the topic of this planning program. That is trade and investment landscapes for investing in West Nile and Greater Nebbi, leveraging the AFC FTA implementation. And the theme being unlocking growth potential and empowering tomorrow's innovators. Now, this is quite a very interesting topic. To start with, I really want to let you know that the region called West Nile is a very beautiful region. It's a region created in a quite very interesting location. Maybe if I may ask, how many minutes do I have?
Hello, Joel.
Yes, how many minutes do you have?
You have about an hour, but we shall also be able to sort of help you guide your discussion and response.
Okay. So I think what I can do is let me do 30 minutes for the presentation. And then if we have questions and all that, we can put yes. First of all, I want to say West Nile is a strategically located region in the northern part of Uganda, northwestern part of Uganda. It is bordered by South Sudan in the north, and Democratic Republic of Congo in the west. And this region called West Nile lies at the confluence of commerce and cultural diversity, offering access to the markets of Eastern DRC, South Sudan, Central African Republic, and some eastern parts of Chad. And due to the history of instability in the neighboring countries, West Nile is relatively peaceful, and this has largely made West Nile to become like the capital city of these other neighboring parts. Purchasing and processing of hub, it's a purchasing and processing hub for minerals and resources from the neighboring countries who are lacking the infrastructure for mineral processing. Now, did we actually know that almost 80% of the gold Uganda exports, did you know it passes through West Nile? I don't know whether people know actually about that. Maybe not. But 80% of the gold Uganda government exports actually passes through West Nile. Now, that is the location of our region called West Nile. However, we've had a very interesting history. At one point, we were towards South Sudan, administered by the, we were being administered all the way from Cairo. And West Nile was at the least end of the administration. Then after some point, we crossed over to Congo and still being administered all the way from Kinshasa. And West Nile was at the least end where things will reach last. And then after some time, we became an enclave called Lado Enclave. It was actually a private property of King Leopold. In a place, the Lado Enclave was actually a private property of King Leopold. And King Leopold was using this place actually more as a hunting ground. Then until 1914, from 1910 up to 1914, when the British now got West Nile to become part of Uganda. And still, it was at the least end of Uganda, where services would be the last to reach. So West Nile had a history of being in the least ends of the countries which were controlling it, or authorities which were controlling it. So as a result, you find the region ended up getting the last, will always be the last to get any service. But however, along the line, because of our location and because of the bordering countries which are having a lot of instabilities, currently West Nile has been positioned in a location where we are at the center of confluence of commerce. We are serving several countries. We are serving the whole of Eastern Congo. We are serving the whole of southern part of South Sudan. We are serving parts of Central African Republic. We have traders who come all the way from Chad to come and get essential items in West Nile. Now, to me, if we don't see that as a huge opportunity for West Nile to grow, or for us as young people to take advantage of that, then we have let ourselves down by ourselves. Unfortunately, 90% of the people who are dealing in the 80% of the gold which passes through West Nile, they're not from West Nile. Did you know that? They're not from West Nile. They are Indians, Pakistanis, and other tribes. They're the ones benefiting from that. Huge quantities of timber from Congo enters through West Nile. Nebbi border, and then the Lear border. Huge quantities of timber enters through those two borders. Lear alone, the timber trade there is close to around $100,000 every day. That is close to 400 million every day. But do you know who are the ones doing the trade there? It is the Eritreans. Now, coming down to, I hope, can somebody make me share my screen?
Yes, sure, Frank.
Yeah.
Yes, can make you a host so that you can share your screen.
Okay. Now, coming down to that, the trade on timber, none of the timber is done by the West Nile people. It's actually the Eritreans who are doing that trade. Now, do you know what West Nilers are getting? West Nilers are loaders. They are loading and offloading the trucks. The only communication we do is to negotiate on how much loading a full loading will cost. But these guys are doing 400 million per day timber trade every day. And do you know where the timber is going? It is going all the way up to Dubai. The gold is going all the way up to Dubai. And this is all happening within West Nile. Now, just cross over across Congo. Go to Aru. Go to Arewara. You think you're in a part of Uganda. They're drinking Ugandan water. They're using Ugandan sugar. They're using Ugandan salt. They're using Ugandan shop. Everything, this huge part of Eastern Congo, which is even bigger than Uganda itself, they are buying things from Uganda. Now, you will ask the question, how many of the West Nile youth are actually part of that business? You will be actually very surprised that very, very few. One day I did a census. Why would some youth in Aru town? Were 20. I asked them, you guys, Aru is just like 15 minutes from here. How many of you here have reached Aru? Out of the 20, only 2 had reached Aru. So, but now, you guys, why have you not reached Aru? Who are the ones doing the trade? Who is the one supplying business there? The other day, a Munyankole came and asked me for goats in my farm in Madi. He was asking for over 200 goats. I said, hey, you man, why do you need all these goats? Where are you taking them? He said, no, I'm buying them here. I'm taking them to Kibale Gold Mine, selling my goats to Kibale. So he negotiated, and I ended up giving him these goats at 250 per goat. Then he told me, you know, I'm taking them to Kibale. These guys have given me a deal. Each goat, I'm selling there at 700,000. You should have seen how sad I felt. Like I've looked after this goat for over 2 years, but somebody is making 3 times what I'm making just within a very short time. What if I was the one going to Kibale? Did it have to be some guy from Barara to drive all the way to Kampala, drive all the way to Arua, goes into Kibale, looks for the business inside Kibale there, and then it comes to me, who has looked after these goats for more than 1 year, and just quickly, he's making 3 times the money I'm making without him doing almost nothing. Now, that is the kind of opportunities West Nile is actually offering to us. Go to the real estate, food, and all these opportunities. Sometimes I feel very, very sad when I see tomatoes, when I see sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, all these food items. Do you know where they're coming from? They're coming from other parts. When we were constructing Arua Market, when we were doing the study, the designs, I did a study on how much food was actually coming outside West Nile per week. It was so The figures I've forgotten them, by the way, billions. So what does that mean? We're getting Irish potatoes outside West Nile. We're getting tomatoes outside West Nile. We're getting onions outside West Nile. So what West Nile is doing is donating money to Kapchorwa, is donating money to Kisoro, is donating money to Kabale, is donating money to all the other parts of the country because we cannot produce food within West Nile. Now, part of this food, where is it going? It is also crossing over to South Sudan. It is crossing over to Congo. But who are the beneficiaries? The guys outside West Nile. Now, if you observe our roads keenly, you realize the section of the road coming to West Nile from Kampala is more worn out than the section of the road coming from West Nile going to Kampala. Did we actually observe and find out the reason? The reason is the trucks coming from Kampala coming towards West Nile are more heavier than the trucks coming from West Nile going to Kampala. Meaning the ones going to Kampala are going empty. Empty. The only thing they're carrying is our money. Then the ones coming from West Nile, coming from Kampala, they're coming with potatoes, they're coming with tomatoes, they're coming with Irish potatoes, they're coming with sweet potatoes, we're coming with the, mention them, all those kind of food items. Because they are now heavy, they deteriorate the side of the road which is coming from Kampala to West Nile. Meaning, West Nile, we are net importers. We import. We import. So when a country imports, what does that mean? Poverty. Because all your money is leaving. All your money is going out of your region to enrich other regions. So we've talked about food items. We've talked about real estate. We've talked about minerals. We've talked about timber. So what should we do as West Nile? We must start becoming producers. We must start becoming exporters if we want to make money. Now, we've been crying, all of us have been crying about power. Now, all the signs are pointing out that power is finally coming. It must have come 20 years back. It didn't come, but it is now coming. So what are we doing with that? How are we preparing as young people now that power is coming? Now that they're going to put over 200 megawatts in West Nile. Right now, our demand currently is maybe maximum 15 megawatts. Now they're now going to put 10 times more than that into West Nile. So can we start preparing ourselves to become producers for export? We're exporting back to Kampala, we're exporting to the neighboring countries, and the rest we consume within ourselves. So that will mean that we will keep our money within ourselves, and then we'll also be exporting to other people. One, industrialization. Now, one of the biggest challenges we're facing is the definition of industrialization. What people look at as a factory is a huge building, warehouse with huge factory equipment and all that. That is not the direction the West Nile must be taken. You will not go far with that direction. West Nile should be looking at the cottage industry. Cottage industry. It's an industry where you and me can be able to do something. It's an industry where 16 of us here can be able to start something because it is small, it is within my compound, it is in my garage, but I'm producing something. Last week, I visited a longtime friend of mine, For him, his cottage industry, he is producing essential oils. Essential oils. And you know how much the machine he bought? He bought the machine at $5,000. But the guy is making around $10,000 per week from that machine. He is producing essential oils and he's exporting them. He's selling some of them within the country worth $10,000 per week. But this friend of mine bought this machine at $5,000. So we should start, Westerners should start with the cottage industry. If you and me can start that, that would be the best. Well, after I visited this guy, ever since then, ever since that time, I have been on Alibaba. I've been on Alibaba looking at the different types of machines. And I was amazed. You find there's a huge machine for making toilet papers. Very cheaply, $10,000, you have this machine with you here. You have a machine for making for making what? There's so many thousands of different types of machines are involved there. But these are machines which are actually very cheaply. You're not gonna be looking for 100 million, 200 million type of factory. No. These are machines you can put in your compound. These are machines you can put in your garage and you are producing. Just simply, if we asked ourselves how much toilet paper we're importing in West Nile, you'll be surprised. It's in hundreds of millions every year. What if somebody in Greater Nebbi decided to say, no, I am starting to produce toilet papers. And if you go to Alibaba, you'll see those machines. They're very cheap. What about mineral water production? What about, the ideas are amazing. So West Nile must start looking at production. 2, we must start becoming party to one of the biggest production, exports, which passes to West Nile. That is timber and minerals. Now, I just wanted to show you a screen here. I hope everyone can be able to see the screen. You can be able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, now this screen above here shows you the mineral wealth of Uganda in general. But if you come somewhere to West Nile, let's even come to Nebbi. Now, what you're seeing here is Nebbi, Greater Nebbi. Now, these shaded areas you see here, these are areas where they have given license to different people. Now, if you click on that license, you will be amazed. I've clicked on all of them. I've checked all of them. You'll be amazed that none of the people who have the license actually come from West Nile. None of the people. And do you know that one of the guys who are given the license is actually from West Nile? I asked him a question and said, how comes all the minerals from West Nile are not being explored by people from West Nile? I said, but none of them has come. And the process is actually very, very transparent. But people actually don't know about that. Now, the whole of this is minerals in West Nile, but Nebbi area has the biggest amount of minerals. And but the most amazing part is that all these concessions are taken by people who are not from West Nile. So we need to become part of this. Have we picked one day? Actually, when I saw this map, I decided to move to geology. I moved to geology to ask them about the processes. If I wanted to start doing exploration, what are the processes I need? The process is actually very simple. They will get for you all the map of Uganda, and then they start showing you there's this area here. Yeah, it has some minerals. This area here, it has some minerals. I see in the K forest, they have seen some gold there in the K forest, but there's no one who has taken that concession. So they show you all the areas. And then they say, okay, for exploration license, you're going to need this amount of money. And but when you look at those monies, they're actually not big. There are things which us from West Nile can actually be able to pay for. Now, the moment you now have the exploration license, the next question now comes, what about the money to do the thing? You see, the first thing is having the license. The moment you have the license, you now go around and you say, guys, I have this license to look for gold in the whole of Nebbi. But we need 100 million for that exploration. If you come, if you want to be part of me, we can give you 50% shares. You bring 100 million. Now you dilute your shareholding by 50%, you give to the other person, and the person is injecting the 100 million. He has the money, he has the technical expertise. But for you, because you are a son or a daughter of Nebbi, you took that advantage of being a son or daughter of the soil to go to geology and say, you know what, in Nebbi here, there's this area here. Can I be the one to have the exploration license? For you had taken that initial step to have the exploration license in your names. If you come to Karamoja, I think I now know why people flock these days to Karamoja. Now, what I'm showing you here is the area Karamoja. Now, the whole of this is the different mining licenses coming all the way down. Moroto, all this coming down to Mbale side. But the whole of this Karamoja region is full of mineral licenses. People have taken the licenses. But when I checked inside here among the licenses, there was one Karamojong lady. For us, she has around 5 different licenses. But the rest are other tribes, Chinese, what. But for her, she made sure she also benefited as part of the people who have license. Now I'm told this lady, for her, she went and now started getting partners. Says, I've got this license because I'm from Karamoja. They gave me the license. Now I need partners. So she has her partners. Even if you end up having only 20% stake in that, just because you are from Nebbi and you took a step, you came over here in Entebbe, you went to the geology, and they gave you a license area to go and explore. You will have already done yourself a huge service. You'll have done the whole of Nebbi a huge service, because as son or daughter of Nebbi, you have put your name as part of the exploration license. But you will find we're there, then other people will take over the places, and then we'll start crying. Yeah, other tribes have come and taken over all our mining licenses. It is now this tribe is licensed. But did we try to come to Entebbe to actually apply for this license? We did. So I just thought I needed to show you this map, because I'm sure very, very few people know about it. If you want to check it more, you can check it on my screen up there. It is portals.landfolio.com/Uganda. portals.landfolio.com/Uganda. But it's for the whole world actually. But this particular one, if you put Uganda there, you'll be able to see all the mineral resources in our country. Most importantly, you'll be able to see the mineral resource in West Nile. And you'll be amazed to actually find out that there are still many other areas within West Nile where they have not explored the resources. So we talked about mining, we talked about timber, we talked about small-scale industrialization, we talked about neighboring countries, being able to produce for the neighboring countries. Can we start exploring? Like our friend here who is having some soda in his shop. Can you start crossing over to Congo? There are many times of fear, but that is part of business. Many times of fear, we say, oh, but what will happen in Congo? That what if I lose my business? But you can also lose the business here in Uganda. But secondly, there are also people actually in the Ugandans who are doing the same business in Congo. So you will end up asking yourself, if there are some Ugandans who are doing the same business in Congo, how about me if I can do it? Now, before you know it, the soda you are selling here cheaply in Congo, it's making for you a lot of money. So that is some of the opportunities. Power is coming. Can we be able to start doing industrialization? Can we start putting in, I wanted to show you some of the things. Can we start putting in, bringing some small machines, these machines which are making for us small factories, which are producing for us things we need to use at our homes. Now, the moment we start that, then we are into the development of West Nile. Now, I just wanted to show you again my screen again. Now, if we can look at, I think we can look at these. I encourage you to go to Alibaba page. You will get so many ideas inside there. Now we have plastic manufacturing. We have chemical. You see this small thing just for making different type of chemicals. Circuit water making. Circuit water making. The machine is costing only $1,100 to $1,300. Honey pneumatic filling, honey machine. Have you seen this honey machine here? It's going for only $120. High-speed talk, liquid soap filling machine. Liquid soap filling machine going for $70. Lip gloss tube dispenser filling machine. This is now for ladies, for making lip gloss. It's a machine for making lip gloss. Now this is going for only $85. Large flow weighing filling, semi-autonomous beverage honey shampoo liquid paste. That's another machine. Juice milk aseptic brick shape carton filling. I mean, you go to Alibaba, you can't believe the amount of factories, amount of machines, very, very cheaply they're producing. These are machines you put in your room and you're starting to produce something. And these are things which are coming all the way from Kampala, but you can now make them within West Nile. Now, water bottling plant. You see this water bottling plant, very small one you can put in one room, going for $3,000. Large scale sauce filling machine, like making tomato sauce and all that, to $1,000. Small bag milk beverage shop liquid mineral water detergent machine. This one is going for only $150. Okay, you will add transport, you will add taxes, like double of that. So you will find with your 10 million shillings, you can be able to have a cottage factory at your point. And we're starting to produce. Those are the things which have grown countries like China. Those are things which have grown countries like India. It is not these large-scale Namamve type of factories. I was in charge of the design of Namamve Industrial Park. $250 million project sunk into one industrial park. But then, how about if we did our cottage industry at our homes, and there are 1,000 of them? Each one is maybe employing 10 people directly, 10 people indirectly. Those are 20 people times 1,000. Those are already 20,000 people employed, because each one of us, 1,000 of us, have managed to mobilize 10 million shillings each to start a cottage industry in our homes. Now, these factories, you are now starting to supply Congo. You're making bottled water, you're supplying Congo with it. No longer in Joru. You're starting to make bar of shop from your one-room house. This is bar of shop, you're now starting to supply Congo with it. Now, do you know the trickle-down effect of that? That will mean money will start coming into West Nile. Instead of money going out of West Nile, money is now coming into West Nile, just because young people under 40 have decided to come up with small, little projects. Everyone with a little project at his own. 10 million, 15 million. Some machines are 5 million shillings. Some of us here have phones, especially the ladies here. The phones are like 5 million shillings. Now, we can decide to put our mind as West Nile and say, let's start producing to export to the neighboring countries. Because you are producing in West Nile and you are supplying in Congo, your price will be cheaper than Mokwano, who is producing in Kampala. Just because of transport. You are 500 kilometers ahead of Mokwano to reach Congo. So if we can look at that and say, okay, now power is coming, can we start preparing ourselves? Can we start saving some money, 500,000 every month for the next 1 year to buy one of these machines from Alibaba? Or can we come as a group of 5 people? 5 people there, 5 people there, and we buy another machine, which is a little bit bigger. Like this one here is a bit bigger one, mineral water bottle machine. This one is actually for making the bottles itself. It is costing around $10,000. Now for me, when I got challenged from this friend of mine, I said, I want to be making paper cups. You know, these paper cups for takeaways in restaurants. I got this one here, this machine here. It's going for around $5,000 to $7,000 for making paper cups. I said, what if I buy this machine and I install it in West Nile? All these coffee shops, all these restaurants, I started branding for them. And they already buying from me. Then there's this one here, toilet paper, for making toilet paper. It is costing $6,000. It's a whole set. And this is one thing you can just put in your room. It's costing $6,000 only. Now, I wanted to see the power rating. I can't see the power here, but these are normally machines which don't take a lot of. Now, before you know, you are making toilet paper in West Nile. Now, this big roll you're seeing here, I don't know whether you're able to see it. This big roll you're seeing, which is moving, this paper is produced in ginger. They just produce it in big rolls like this in ginger, and you come and fix it in your machine, and you press it, it rolls, it ends up coming as toilet paper. And these bigger rolls are actually made in ginger here. So the ginger factory will just be supplying you the whole roll. And at $6,000, you're having this machine installed. Multiply that by 2, including transport and maybe some tax. That will come to around $12,000. That's around $40 million. This is some money if we can mobilize ourselves. Maybe you guys are 10 in a group. Each one is paying 4 million. And you say, okay, this 4 million, let's gather it for a whole year. That means per month we're mobilizing 400,000. 400,000 by the end of the month, you already have your 4 million. You are 10 of you. You have got your 40 million you want. And you send for such a machine. And it is installed in West Nile. We're producing our toilet papers and other tissue papers. We're producing our cups. We're producing, all these we start making productions, but from this small scale cottage industry. Believe me, Greater Nebbi and West Nile will become a net exporter. As long as we're a net importer, we will be poor because the money we're having is going out. They're teaching you, you're a teacher, they pay you by the end of the month, you're paying out to buy tomatoes, which is coming from a farmer in Kabale. You are a boda, you're paying to buy some drinks, easy energy drink. Energy drink is coming from Kampala. So all the money that you are having, all the money we're having is getting out of West Nile. So the more we send this money out of West Nile, the more we will be poor because money is leaving us, poverty is coming. So that way, if we start becoming producers with this power coming, if we can start planning now, and if the power comes within a year, it finds out that we have already saved enough money, then we start becoming ready to become producers. We're having factories, we're having cottage industries in our homes, owned by you and me. But if we keep on waiting, before you know it, the Indians will start coming. The Indians will start putting their factories here. We'll start having we'll start having other tribes, tribes within West Nile coming in. And then as West Nile youth, we'll start crying. We'll start saying, oh, government doesn't like us. Oh, so-and-so doesn't like us. And it becomes a big challenge for a region. Do you know what we'll end up having? We'll start crying. Always we're crying. And the moment we're always crying, where will it end? It will not end in a good way, because the majority of our people will be dying poor. Now, if you realize, I have not talked about borrowing money from anywhere. I've done that purposely. I personally don't believe in borrowing money. Borrowing, the Bible even says clearly, the borrower will be a slave to the lender. So I don't want to be a slave. I personally don't like borrowing. But if we plan ourselves very well and say, okay, this is the kind of project we want to do, and then we start saving for it. Many times the problem is we come up with an idea right now, we want it to be implemented the next 1 or 2 or 3 months. That's not how huge projects operate. That's not how a cottage industry operates. These are projects you are looking at 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, but you're starting to plan for it now. You see, many times 3 years looks very far. It's not. If you start planning and say, okay, you know what? I want to start becoming a producer, and this is the machine I want. I want to buy it. This is 2024. I'm going to buy it in 2026. And the machine is costing 10 million. And you start saving 500,000 now. Let me tell you, even within 2025, you will have already saved that money. So most importantly, what we need to do is we need to start becoming producers in West Nile. Now, the issue is not now power. We have seen the power lines coming. We now need to start preparing ourselves to utilize this power. You know, the saboteurs of not bringing power to West Nile used to say that we don't have demand. Now, if we don't start planning for that, they're going to start saying, you see, we have sent them 200 megawatts, but for a whole 2 years, they've just used 15 megawatts. They don't have demand, we told you. So, but if we start planning now, some people are still crying around running with the power issue. Power is now coming. We now need to start pushing now for industrialization. And industrialization we should cry for is not these large-scale industries. These large-scale industries are just going to benefit few people who are going to employ people who are just going to work. That's workers, paying them small salaries. But if the under 14 CEO group here, if they can decide to say, no, let's start doing the cottage industry type. You go to Alibaba, you'll see thousands of ideas. Thousands of ideas will come. Then we talked about the mineral, talked about timber and real estate. Those are some of the areas. And then farming, proper farming. Instead of getting these traders bringing food items to us here in West Nile, we should start producing to sell within West Nile. We should start producing to also export to the neighboring regions. If we can be able to do that, then I really believe as the young people, as the under 40 CEO group, we will be able to change West Nile. We will be able to move to another level. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joel. You've absolutely done justice to this conversation. And I'm personally inspired. I don't know about you, colleagues on the call, but if you have any question for Dr. Joel, please put it in the chat. But you should also have a segment where you'll be able to ask questions. So for the participants that found us halfway into the conversation, we've just been having a presentation by our speaker tonight, Dr. Joel Aita Jafar. He's the chairman, Muni University. He is also the CEO of Joada Consult and chairman, Development Infrastructure. But also one of the other things that I know about Joel is that he's an author, and his energy in making sure that people grow, people learn is really contagious. And I'm sure you've all had a very great insight about the West Nile region, but also the Greater Nebbi and how we can leverage on the opportunities that we have. And so our discussion has really been around today's theme is unlocking growth potential and empowering tomorrow's innovators. And we also would love to receive questions from your end. One of the key things that Dr. Joel has shared has really been around how West Nile as a sub-region has great potential. For example, we have 80% of gold that goes through West Nile, but also West Nile being at the center of commerce of Congo, South Sudan, Chad, Central African Republic. These are very many opportunities that we as the people from Greater Nebbi and West Nile can really benefit from. But also one of the objectives of this webinar is for us to network and share knowledge, but also partnerships and in a way that we are able to develop ourselves, but also how we are able to foster a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the Greater Nebbi and beyond. So if you have any questions for Dr. Joel, please, this is the moment we have. You can type it in the chat, but also, like I mentioned earlier on, put your information details in the chat so that you get to network, so that you get to see how we can also work together as the people on this call. But back to you, Dr. Joel, just some follow-up questions. You've shared a lot in terms of the different opportunities of investment that we have, and you highlighted around real estate, agriculture, minerals, timber, but also small-scale industrialization. And one thing for sure is that as young entrepreneurs, there are very many challenges that young entrepreneurs face in trying to see how they can trade favorably. And one of them is really access to funding. But also, I would like for you to highlight for us the acts we can leverage on, but also capacity building initiatives, because I believe with all the experience you have, there is so much that you can share with us in terms of how do we get there, because people on this call, some of us could be having businesses, we're already trading, but then we are not yet there. And as much as there are many young people that are engaging in trade, some of them don't even know the basic requirements for you to compete favorably. So it would be great for us to hear from you how young entrepreneurs can access funding, but also capacity development opportunities. Over to you, Dr. Joel.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the question. Yes, definitely when the business starts moving, you need to have funding, sometimes even to start it, or funding to grow it. Many people, because they have not done a proper calculation on the financing, they have ended up going under the water. I mean, under the drain, or their businesses collapsing. Because you find somebody has a good business, but hasn't calculated the cash flow very well. And then it goes to a commercial bank. Goes to a commercial bank, picks a loan, and you pick 100 million loan for your business. And after 2 months, the bank actually starts deducting before actually you have even used the money. So you find you had borrowed 100 million. After a month, the bank is already deducting 10 million for repay. Now, have you even used 100 million? You have not used it all. So how much money are you paying? Are you paying 100 million? Or you actually paying 90 million? Because the bank was already started deducting the 10 million. Now, then the interest rates. The interest rate is almost more than your profit. So how are you going to make the money out of that? But there are other options where we could explore how to raise financing for our businesses. One is we rather look at non-commercial banks. Businesses are supposed to be run, such businesses must be run using development loans. Now we have like Microfinance Support Center. Microfinance Support Center, although they are currently looking mostly to microfinance institutions and SACCOs. That means we can be able to access some of those finances through SACCOs. Now, Microfinance Support Center, they will give you 1 year, 2 year grace period. And then if you look at their interest rates, they're not like commercial banks. And then we also have Uganda Development Bank. Now, Uganda Development Bank has what they call special projects. These special projects are for youth and women. These are projects which are owned, majority stake is owned by women or youth. UDB has that special project. The funding is normally different. The funding is normally, the requirements are normally a bit relaxed, especially the special projects. So try to go to the UDB website, you'll be able to get that. Luckily enough, UDB is soon opening up in Arua for West Nile region, in Arua. And they've already opened up in Nebbi, so one can actually look at that. I have studied the business environment in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Now, in Kenya and Tanzania, people work as a group. Their circles are very successful. Some of the circles are bigger than even our biggest banks in Uganda here. Kenyans and Tanzanians, they know how to work as a group. Now that comes to our third source of financing. Unfortunately, in Uganda, we're yet to build the culture or the spirit of working together. We currently don't have it here a lot in Uganda. You find some people start a circle, the money reaches 50 million. The chairman and the treasurer, they withdraw the money and they disappear. Now, if we don't stop that kind of behavior, then we will not go far. But it's a lot here in Uganda. And if we had this spirit, if we can start developing that spirit of working together, we can actually, that can become one of our biggest sources of raising revenue in what I like to term as stone soup, where people come together to put in money to do a big project. Come together to put in money to start a big project. That is how countries like Kenya and Tanzania are actually growing. They're coming together, putting their monies together. So you find that is actually their biggest source of funding. But as much as possible, I always advise that we avoid commercial banks for sources of loans. When people get so stressed, they end up going to money lenders. There you're now killing your business. You're not killing your business. And Oluka James says, I particularly buy the idea of cottage industry because we have seen how China, India, and other countries practically skyrocketed their economies through the cottage industry, and there is no better way to highlight the power of local resource mobilization than Joel has said. My question is, with Joel's experience, what is his take about the high taxation levels, especially for local citizens, and the issues around the difficulties in obtaining certification from the government line ministries? For example, to produce tomato sauce, they must be certified. Yes, starting with the taxation, definitely, no one likes it. If there was a way to live without tax, all of us will want to, to live without tax. But if you realize tax is actually for almost everyone. Tax is actually for everyone. But many times we might have to look through issues of what we call tax avoidance by having very proper documentation. Usually most of these rich people think they don't pay tax. No, these guys invest in tax consultants. They invest in tax consultants to look at how their company's documents are properly done. Where you look through all the laws, all the loopholes in the government's taxation system, and these tax consultants, they will look through all those, and before you know it, the tax which you used to pay 200 million, you are now paying 20 million. Unfortunately, many times we seek for advice of those people when URA has also pounced on us. So one thing we've normally done is to look for very good tax consultants. So when they do our documentations, they do it in such a way that there are certain tax which can be avoided through proper documentations. But also having proper documentations in place. You find many times we're doing our business, we don't have the paperwork properly, we don't have our expenses properly. So when URA pounces on you, you didn't have all the receipts, you didn't have all these things, and they come in. But taxes generally, everyone is being taxed, and we can't do anything much about it. Yes, definitely, there's a lot of challenges with the certification, UNEBS and all these other agencies. Those challenges are really there, but many times you have to push. You have to push, you have to push, you have to get to know somebody. And I always say, getting to know somebody is not something which is automatic. You have to work for it. You have to work for it. Yeah, so that is it. But it's a big challenge. Yes, our elder Jurua, Peter, thank you for your presentation. We have a virgin trade that is hides and skins. There is need to add value to these raw materials. People eat meat and forget the hides and skins. The hides and skins are collected silently by some Indians and Arabs without value. They take these hides to leather industries after processing them to leather items like shoes, belts are made out of the leather. Selling these items very expensively in Arua. I'm a trained leather technician and I have the knowledge to make leather from the hides and skins. What can you advise on this? What can Moni University do in this regard? Arua or West Nile needs a leather industry in my prayer. Thank you, Jurua Peter. Yes, Elder Jurua Peter, thank you so much for this. And interestingly, last month, we had a discussion about this same thing of hides and skins with the Lillian Butele. I don't know whether you know Lillian Butele. Lillian Butele, she's the daughter to Honorable Butele. She lives in, I think, US or something. She visited me in Entebbe, and she was looking at these hides. She says, this hide here, which is maybe sold at, I don't know, 10,000 or whatever. Some people they treat it very nicely. And then these things are taken to US for making, they just put them on furniture. Some of them, they put them as carpet. And she was saying these things are sold in millions of shillings. So we actually had a very long discussion with her on this. Maybe, Mr. Jurua Peter, what you could do is, if you could approach Moni University management, especially the Vice Chancellor, I could try to set up a meeting with you on that. Maybe together with our researchers at the university, we recently have approved what we call, through government funding, we've approved around 2.5 billion every year for research and innovation. Research and innovation, that funding is there, although mostly for within, still within the university, but we can open it up. I will propose we first go to meet with the Vice Chancellor, Moni, and I will also inform him that you will be coming to see him and see how Moni can partner with you to add value on hides and skins in West Nile. I think that will be something very interesting, and I will be very glad to see how it will come out. Yeah, that one we can be able to discuss. And even recently, we have won some funding from MasterCard Foundation for skilling. So if you can have that discussion along that line, I'm going to inform the Vice Chancellor today that anytime this week you will be coming to see him. I mean, next week, you'll be coming to see him to have a more detailed discussion about that. Now, those are actually the kind of research we want to come out of Moni University. Research which is solving a real problem, which is coming up with a real solution for our region. So this was a good input you brought on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joel, and thank you to James and Mr. Jura for asking those questions. And just right there, just like we said, this is an opportunity for us to get opportunities, network, and knowledge share. And thank you so much for the great insights. Just another follow-up question, Dr. Joel. You, in your earlier presentation, highlighted a number of opportunities, for example, us even concentrating more on becoming exporters rather than importing. So I would just love for you to sort of explain to us, because I know many people, when they were coming for this Zoom discussion, they were wondering, what is this African Continental Free Trade? So I would just like for you to share for us, what role does that do for us as young entrepreneurs in the West Nile sub-region, but also the greater Nebbi? So could you also discuss the benefits of leveraging on the African Continental Free Trade Area for regional growth and investment growth? But also, it would be great for you to highlight the role that special economic zones and industrial parks in attracting investment and promoting economic development. Because I realized that I think a couple of years ago, there's already a plan to set up an industrial park in Nebbi district. But then this is some of the information that not every ordinary young person in the greater Nebbi and West Nile sub-region as a whole gets to get a hold of. So it would be great for you to share what role the special economic zones do, or even to start with, what does that even mean? Because I would imagine, for me, deep from Zombo district, some of these terminologies, and now we're talking about trade, we're talking about being more exporters. So could you please discuss for us the benefits of leveraging on that African Continental Free Trade Area, but also the role of special economic zones and industrial parks? Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peace. The African Continental Free Trade Area, their main objective is eliminating trade barriers in Africa, eliminating barriers to trade in Africa. The objective is to significantly boost intra-Africa trade, particularly trade in value-added production and trade across all sectors of Africa's economy. Now, the free trade area, the Continental Free Trade Area, they're saying, why can't Africa do trade amongst ourselves? Why are we not doing trade amongst ourselves? Why are there no business people crossing freely across the borders? First of all, we used to have, we have visas. Africa has visas. For you to cross over to the other country, you need to come and apply for visa. You need to come and do. All these are barriers to free trade. Taxes over taxes across the borders. Now, for you, if you go even to Congo, sometimes it is worse. Every other 20 kilometers, there's a tax you have to pay. So the Continental Free Trade Area is looking at eliminating those barriers so that it can significantly boost intra-Africa trade or trade within Africa, so that we can be able to trade easily. Did you realize it is cheaper for me to fly to Dubai than flying to Rwanda or flying to Congo? I can get a flight to Dubai at $400, but to Rwanda, it will be at $500. To Congo, it is even more than that. Now, these are all barriers to free trade. So if I wanted to go for a holiday, Dubai, I can get a ticket at $450. I can get a visa in 3 days, or even 2 days. But if I'm to go to Congo, it is $600 and my visa is taking 1 week. So you end up saying, but now, should I go to Dubai or I should go to Kinshasa? And you stop going to Congo. Now, Rwanda is 30 minutes flight, but it's almost even more expensive than a flight to Dubai. So all these are barriers to free trade, which the African Continental Free Trade Area is trying to solve. So when they open these barriers, they open there are some taxes which they need to cancel among all these areas. So that is the purpose of the African Continental Free Trade Zone, Free Trade Area. They're trying to look at if we can be able to boost trade within Africa. The special economic zones. Special economic zones are zones where they say if you produce something here for export, there will be no tax. For example, if government wanted to produce encourage industrialization in Nebbi or Greater Nebbi, they can decide to put a special economic zone in that area. They will just say, okay, this area here has been designated as a special economic zone. Now, anyone who goes to set up his small factory or big factory in that special economic zone, you will not pay tax for 10 years, for example. You will not do this for, you will not, they can say, you will not pay VAT if you produce in that zone. You will not pay income tax if you produce in that zone. Government comes up with some incentives, tax incentives in those special economic zones. Or they can say when you're importing things, your machines in that area will be tax-free. Your cement you're buying, they will not charge you VAT. The cement you're using to build your factory in the special economic zone. So those zones are normally created to encourage industrialization in a particular area. So people now rush there because he knows if I'm going to produce my bar of soap there, they're not going to be charging me tax. So I can send it to Congo tax-free. So that is the purpose of special economic zones. West Nile, I think, has one, but it has not started operating. But they have given a special economic zone status. I think one, I don't know whether the second one has come in, but former Adiko 7 Hills in Arua, that land has been given as a special economic zone. Industrial parks, these are areas designated where factories can be put. An industrial park may be or may not be a special economic zone. So government just designates, or even you as a private person, you can apply and say, I want this area to be a special economic zone. Even here in my building, I can say, I can go to the Free Trades Authority, Free Zones Authority, and I tell them I want to designate this building of mine as a special economic zone. They can actually give me that. It doesn't have to be just an area. It can actually even be a building or a factory or an area where the number of factories going to produce things. They actually prefer where there are many production centers. So one can actually come up with a cottage area and they apply for it to become a special economic zone. And they're saying in this cottage, we're going to have 10 different cottages producing different things, and it becomes a special economic zone. Special economic zones are not ideally some huge area like the whole of Nebbi town is now becomes a factory and it's made a special. No. It can be a particular small area as long as it's producing many different products in that area. That can become actually a special economic zone. So in it, there are special, just like the name, there are special considerations given, especially on tax issues, tax waivers, and all these things. So if West Nile can have one which is happening, that will be good because it will reduce our cost of production, especially for exported products, if we're exporting them, for example, to Congo and South Sudan. Special economic zones normally don't operate for productions which are remaining within the country. They normally prefer them. They're always for productions for export. So you cannot have a special economic zone to produce for things within, which are going to be consumed within the country. They are normally for exports, unless it has changed of recent. But the last time I visited them, just to go and learn, it was for exports. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you've really done justice to this discussion. And I'm absolutely learning so much. But I also believe the rest of the participants on the call are equally learning. For any other person that could have a question to Dr. Joel, please, you can request for the microphone or just type in the chat. We're almost coming to the end of our webinar today. Just one last question to you, Dr. Joel. We would like to know if there are any specific government incentives or programs available to support young entrepreneurs in their investment endeavors. And you know, one of the greatest things that people really benefit from is access to information. So if we would love to hear from you, what those government incentives or programs that you are aware of that we as people in this forum can benefit from, please take on the stage and share it with us.
Okay, like I stated earlier on, under UDB, there is what they call special projects. Special projects are for youth and women. These are women-owned businesses and youth-owned businesses. Let me try to read something a little bit on that so that I don't give you half-baked information. But in UDB, they have what they call special projects. These are projects where they just want to help the young people and women to come with their projects. Now you will actually realize that in that special project, the conditions are a bit lighter. They are not as complicated as the other funding programs. So just trying to download it a bit. Special projects. I don't have the whole, but if you go to the UDB website and you look for what they call special projects, you will get a lot in that. But these special interventions are, as I said, it's for the youth and young people. They have what they call youth step-up loans. Maybe let me add it on the screen. So they have what they call, I hope you can be able to see. They have one what they call youth step-up loans. Now the youth step-up loans are normally for when the youth want to increase, step up their what, their factory, their business. If they want to increase their business, they have that youth step up loans, and then they have the women program. Just a moment. We have the women prosper loans, women's prosper loans, AgriConnect, climate finance facility. But the two big ones under the special projects, these ones here. And then they also have another program for local contractors financing, where they actually finance local contractors. There is that program. They have access to electricity, science, technology, and innovation, AgriConnect, climate finance, then oil seeds initiatives, then the SME Kazi loans. So if you go to the UDB website, you will find these are some of the special projects government has started for the youth and women. It's quite interesting. I've introduced quite a number of young people there. There's a friend of mine, she wanted to start a factory for making oil. She wanted 200 million Ugandan shillings. She was going to the commercial bank. They're almost approving for her. A very high interest rate. So she asked me and said, no, why don't you go to UDB? She went there. They actually received her very well within 30 days. Actually, weekends, it went to around 40 days. Within 40 days, she got her financing. So that is one special program government has introduced for the young people and the women. I will highly advise one to go for that one instead of going for commercial loans, or instead of going to these money sharks. There your business will just be collapsing. So that is in one area I would say government is intervening. These ones of, what is it called? Paris something. That one I don't take it too seriously. That one I don't expect our youth here, our group we're talking here to engage in it. That one is just for politics, I think. but not for serious business. But the main one, which I really think one should pick interest in, especially if you want to look at the proper financing, is those special projects under UDB. There you'll find a lot of things. They have already an office in Gulu, in case somebody wants that number for the Gulu guy who is covered in the whole of West Nile and the Acholi sub-region. He's quite a very nice guy. He can actually advise you more than I will have advised. I think I'm going to put his number here, since he's a public servant. They're supposed to serve us. So let me put the number for everyone in the meeting. 0774 424 204. So Ngom is the UDB representative for actually sub-region in West Nile. So you can ask him about the special projects under UDB and what are the conditions for one to be able to access those kind of financing. I think those are really the main one I know of, which is here. But they really make the loan more easier for you to get than the usual main loan. But you can also go to the website to see what is there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we couldn't have chosen a better speaker for today's webinar discussion. We have absolutely benefited from your great knowledge and experience in this area. And to colleagues on this call, please do not be selfish with this information. Now that you're equipped with this information, please share it with another young person, another community member in your spaces, but also make sure that we practice what has been shared today. We have learned so much from today's discussion. And thank you so much, Dr. Joel, for really bringing great insights. And just to summarize the discussions, we have been speaking for over coming to 2 hours now, 1.5 hours. And yes, you highlighted the different investment opportunities. Just to re-echo them, you talked about real estate, agriculture, minerals, timber, small-scale industrialization, but you also highlighted about the hides and skins. And you also really re-echoed that, power is coming to West Nile. How well prepared are we? Is our capacity strengthened? Do we have the knowledge on how best to trade? But also, the other things that you talked about is for us not to, get used to borrowing money all the time, because a borrower will definitely be a slave to the lender. And you also highlighted for us to look at opportunities of getting finances from microfinance rather than the non-commercial banks, but also how we can work together to raise revenue. Talked about the stone soup theory. And yes, we have really learned so much from now. We know what the Africa Continental Free Trade Area for regional growth and investment means, but we also now know the special economic zones and industrial parks. And absolutely, we're not leaving this session the same. So thank you so much. We do not take it for granted. Thank you so much for sparing time from your busy schedule to just come and share your knowledge and experience with us. And this is the Greater Nebbi Under CEO Forum, a platform for young entrepreneurs and young leaders dedicated to fostering growth, innovation, and collaboration among youth entrepreneurs, business leaders, and private sector CEOs under the age of 40 in the West Nile sub-region. So as part of the initiatives of this forum, we've really been organizing these pre-symposium webinars. We're planning to have even greater trade and investment symposium that will be happening in Nebbi time to come. But these are some of the things that we felt like people within our spaces really need to be well equipped in, but also the knowledge is very important so that they can be able to trade favorably, compete favorably, but also do all that for the betterment of the Greater Nebbi and West Nile sub-region. And yes, as we come to the end of the discussion, I really would like to appreciate our speaker for being very selfless and sharing so much, but also to the participants for braving all these hours to listen to this discussion, but also for the questions that have been put in the chat. And we appreciate the participants that have really been able to ask these questions, Mr. Jurwa Peter and Mr. Oluka James. Thank you so much. Would also really would love to encourage you to give us feedback and suggestions for future webinar topics and improvements, but also you could highlight in the chat maybe what is that thing that you would love to get maybe the speaker share about in the next session. But also if you would actually at one point want Dr. Joel to be back on our webinar series, probably to also share his journey on how he got there with all these positions, engineer, doctor, author, and all that. So it would really be great for you to give us that feedback. And yes, the different opportunities like he has shared that we can really benefit from. But also just to highlight, there is the NSSF High Innovator Program that really does capacity building, but also gives funding to businesses. So you can as well enroll for that. They're usually intakes throughout the year. But also like today, I think there's been the Harvest Money Expo 2024, which is also a good opportunity that we would benefit from. So if this is something that is really close to your heart, then the next time there are these opportunities, please feel free to see how you can tap into that, but also never let the information just pass, keep on sharing it with your colleagues as well. And yes, thank you everyone for being on this call. Unless someone really has a question, our webinar is really coming to an end. Any final question, anyone?
Yes, please.
Yes, Grace, over to you.
Yes, okay. Mine is vote of thanks as the chairperson of this group. Engineer Joel, I really don't know what to say. Whereas I should be happy, I should be rejoicing because of all that I've heard from you. Somehow it saddens me that we have all this and it is within us, but we are still like this. I would like to say that may the Almighty God thank you very much for this. I know so many times people think the young people are just there. No one is bothering about them. But when we see you come like this, give your time, all this information, we really feel that we have people, we have our elders, we have people with knowledge who are willing to pull us from this stage we are to another. For us members in this group, the only way we can appreciate such people like engineer is to implement some of the ideas that they bring. It will be very painful that after they labor for all this time, we just listen and we don't act. Please, we can do these things. If we can't do it at individual levels, we can always come together 2 or 3 and see how we can implement some of these ideas. The idea of cottage industry is very catching. Please, members, can we take up some of these ideas that have been put? When you look at the cost implication of some of the startups that he has said, these are things we can handle. Indeed, some of us here, as he said, are even handling funds of over 5 million. But we cannot start the smallest industry in our area. As part of this group, engineer, I want to say that your time, your effort is not going to be in vain. For me as a person, I'm going to take up this. I'm going to start planning now. Though I had this in mind, I didn't have that detailed information that the way you have put it. And I have been inspired. I believe even so many members here have been inspired. At personal level, I haven't met you, but it's going to be my responsibility to look for you, doctor. And when we come to you, please accept us. And even when we invite you again, because I'm seeing some of the reactions, the members want more from you. So once again, if we call upon you, please, may you come to us. May you support us with the information. And I can assure you that we are going to implement this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I will be glad to come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace and Dr. Joel. And thank you all of you for joining this webinar today. It's really been insightful. So thank you, and we look forward to getting to interact with you on our next webinar series, and we shall share that information on our socials. Yes, and also really feel free to reach out to any of us should you have any follow-up questions for Dr. Joel or really anyone on the call. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening.